Hello everyone, this is chapter 1 of 8th class. What is science? It's an amazing thing of the facilities available today when compared to primitive era. Primitive era means the ancient time. Computers, mobile phones, internet, space shuttles, robotics, hybrid, food grains, medicines, etc. are all the results of ideas which originated in some human brains. They are the people who think differently to observe and understand the nature in a specific way. Let us understand how they think and what they do. So, actually what scientists do, what are the ideas about different type of things on different aspects, and how they implement, how they experiment, how do they plan, how do they calculate, what are the observations. So what is a science? Science is discovery, a knowledge, a type of innovative thinking. Okay. It's an amazing to know about science. Nowadays, with the help of technology like computer, phones, internet, it is all about thinking. So science is all about what? Thinking. Science is a process of thinking, making things innovative, exploring the world, universe, its activities, its life forms, its origin of organisms, and the habitats of the organisms, and lots many more. Latin word, that is scientia. Scientia. Okay, Latin word, that is scientia, means knowledge. Latin word, here it is scientia, means knowledge. So science, who study science, we can say they are the people who have many a good knowledge of understanding things. I'm not about to tell that those who study various things, they don't have knowledge, but to be a perfect, to be a master in a certain thing is called a science, or a knowledge. A knowledge of having something is science, and implementing is. Having knowledge is not enough, but putting your ideas in the process of experiment and observing, planning, repeating in different circumstances, analyzing, drawing, conclusion, and the result of it is the implementation of science, or the knowledge you have about what you want to do. Okay. All these things, how scientists work, scientific method, planning and investigation, and how teachers help students to observe things in a scientific way. They are the few activities about some students from here. Okay. So there are many scientists who are interested in their own way of finding things in the universe, based on which we have so much of development in almost all the fields on which the great scientist has contributed their knowledge and gave a way for betterment understanding of the world. So in a better way, in a scientific way. So many more, not only in medicines, chemicals, or having electronic devices, and like a landform, or innovations. Everything we see today, we have a certain knowledge about it, and we can know with the help of internet. So they put their knowledge and their experiments into the in a written form, and we can explore through internet. Actually, I mean to say scientists working in different fields, like some do experiments on plants, animals, microorganisms, minerals, chemicals, water, land, fossils, about history of so many things, like rock history, fossil history, or history of monuments, history of landforms, everything. mountains, soils, and gases. What are the types of gases, and how in a gases are formed? What are they do experiments with gases, and aquatic habitats. What are the animals present or the microorganisms present in aquatic animals are those animals or plants which lived in an water or in ocean seas. We have uh, the species which are present. Species are nothing but the type of organisms living on the surface of the earth, whether they are on in the ocean, seas, land, or in plants. Everything comes under species. So how much species are present in on the land? Double, triple, or you can say how many times, 10 times more is more the species are present in the oceans. Okay, and so many scientists studies about the diseases, how they are caused, what is the cause of, and how it is causing, like whether it is a viral, bacterial, or a fungal, and which medicine acts upon it, and studying about the biosphere, what are the gases or what are the factorial wastage or the gases which are released into the atmosphere causing damage to the biosphere. Energy from different sources, like energy, they have many scientists have worked on solar energy. Now we can produce electricity with the help of sun heat, solar energy, hydro energy, thermal energy. So many scientists work on different fields. So these all are come under the science, a scientific method of implementing things or making things from their knowledge or ideas. And some work now so many scientists are working on making eco-friendly material as our biosphere or a global, because of the global warming. So far studying and for okay, here how scientists work or scientific method. What is the scientific method of working? So first one, it is the planning. So some idea you have, okay, how to implement that. First you have to investigate from where it has come, okay, then planning it, having questions in your mind, how to resolve it, then plan it, then what are the things you require, means here are the few things you should have in your experiments. When you are conducting an experiment, observe and ask questions. First you should observe what are the changes are going, and if it is not there in a certain area but it is more in another area, like vegetation you take, if more amount of paddy is presenting in a particular landfill, and but in the other landfill it is producing in a lesser amount, like you can observe it, then you can ask questions why it is happening so. Why, what are the things they are using, and what are the things they are using, what is lacking in between, like this. From form a hypothesis is, you should have a clear knowledge what will be the solution. Okay, after asking questions you can come to the conclusion. Okay, you should have a solution, not only one solution. Okay, let's see it. You should plan in a certain way that you should be able to find out the reason and the solution of a particular problem. Form a hypothesis means you should have a 2 to 3 way of solving the problem. Plan and experiment. Plan it, how to experiment it, what are the things required for your experiments. Conduct the experiment, then start the experiment. Starting the experiment, and then draw conclusion and communicate the result. Draw the conclusion means you should conduct an experiment means how many days, whether it may take days or hours or anything, or depending upon your experiments. You should observe it, and then you should make a like you should draw it on your paper, or you should write it down a number, or what are you are using. You should make a document like thing, or a table form, how many days it's taking to develop, like what are the changes going on. You should note down it, and you should have a document. Then draw the conclusion. So what you observe, what are the differences, what are the things you faced difficulty, what has gone wrong, everything you have to draw it on and you, by making mistakes, by seeing the results, you will come to a conclusion. Then draw the conclusion and communicate the result. Communication is very much important. Now you have came to one conclusion. Okay, this is the right thing to do for this field. These things has to be used to produce a surplus amount of vegetation here. So this is lacking here for this soil. So you should communicate and you should implement your experiment. So here certain students have certain questions and they are experimenting in their own way. Okay, now Arvind is experimenting on soil. Okay, he is experimenting on 3 types of soils: clay soil, sandy soil and potting soil. For a seed, in how many days it get sprouted? Sprouted means when you soak a seed, then it will after 2 to 3 days after soaking it, it produces a branch like a root like thing, which is called as sprouting. Okay, and he observed. What he observed? Plan an experiment. He has planted. Okay, conduct the experiment. Follow the steps you have written. Observe the measure carefully. Record everything that happens. Organize your data so that you can study it carefully. So he has potted a seed into a 3 different types of soils. Which soil? Sandy soil, clay soil and potting soil. So what he observed: in 3 days, in sandy soil 1.8 centimeters, in clay soil 1.5 centimeters, in potting soil 1.8 centimeters, the plant has been grown. In 6 days, these are the measurements he has taken. In 9 days also. So what is the conclusion? Analyzing the data you gathered, make chart, table or graph. See, after analyzing, you may use a chart in concluding, or a table or a graph in any form. So you should have a numbering knowledge for conclusion. Write a conclusion. Describe the evidence used to determine whether your test supported your hypothesis. Means the solutions you thought to implement in your experiment. Decide whether your hypothesis is correct or not. So what where you are in your mind the solution, whether it was right or not, or where you have gone wrong. So you come to an conclusion with the data you have collected from your observation. So investigation. If your hypothesis is correct, you may want to pose another question about your topic that you can test. Okay. If your hypothesis is incorrect, you may want to form another hypothesis and do then another solution, or thinking of another way to do a test of different variables. Do you think Arvind new hypothesis is correct? Plan and conduct a test to find it. So you can also take a test, or you can also observe in such a way. Process skills. What are the process skills? Observe, compare and classify. Observe it. What should observe? Use the sense to learn about objects and events. You should know on what thing you are experimenting. You should have a clear cut observation. You should have a observation very clearly. What are the changes are going on? Okay. Then compare it. Comparing in what way? Identify characters. Like now we are talking about a plant only. Okay. Now here Saket. Okay, Saket is using what? These seashells. See, all these are called as seashells, but they are of different types, different height, different length, different structure, and different color. So, what we are observing? We are observing 2 to 3 or 5 or 7. We can have observe and make a differences in 7 categories according to their length, their height, their width, and their design, their color, their shape, everything. So we can just classify into into groups, and we can compare it. Identify characteristics of things or event. You find out how they are alike or different. In what they are alike. Some are in length are equal, but according to their shape they are different. Okay, what are the similarities and what are the differences? You should compare it. Then classify. Group or organize objects or events in categories based on specific characters. Okay, if you are classifying on based of their heights, then you can compare. You can put them into a groups like according to their heights. So these types of shells comes under from 1 centimeter. Now they are of 5 centimeters. These are of 3 centimeters. These are of 2 centimeters. If height, if you are comparing according to their color, they are dark brownish, brown, white, creamy white, in that way. If you are want to classify in their according to their shape, they are round, they are flattened, they are twisted, in that way. So you can classify into a type of groups also. Observe, compare and classifying. So this is called as process skills. So Saket did this experiment. Now Charita, what she is doing? She wanted to do an experiment on rocks. She is having a doubt how the rocks have different shapes. Whether the rubbing of rocks with a sand makes the different shapes of the rocks. Whether it breaks down the rock and changes its surface of the rock. And so what she will do? She will measure. How she will measure? She will compare the attributes of an object such as mass, how much weight it is, length, how much length it is, of how much weight, length, capacity to a unit of measure such as gram. She may take in a small amount of rocks or in a centimeter rocks, means a particular rock she has taken. She has taken a record in grams, how much gram it is, how much centimeter it is, how long or short it is, or liter. In water, if we she has put that rock into a 100 or 1 liter of water. So she has taken 1 liter of water, like that. Gather, record, display and interpret the data. Now she has recorded. Display means she has a record what she has. Now she should display, and then she should interpret the data. What are the changes have gone and what is the conclusion of it. So what she will do? Gather data by making observation that will be useful for interference or predictions. Record data by writing down the observations in the form of table or graph in a notebook. Display data by making tables, charts or graphs. Interpret data by drawing conclusions about what the data shows. So what she will do? She will just put a sand. She will just shake the glass for a few days, and she observed that yes, sand has broken down the rocks into a pieces, or it has smoothened its surface, in that way she has concluded that yes, the sand rubbing with a sand, a rock changes its change in its grams, centimeters, and yes, there is a process of like process in softening the rock, or just the differences in the rocks. Now Arvind is doing a experiment on a switch bulb. Bulb switch. What he is doing, he has just taken a battery, a switch, and a paper and a bulb. So what he is doing, he is seeing how the switch works for lighting a bulb. So what he did, he has taken two batteries, and he has put it into a cardboard, and he has experimented. He has taken a bulb, he just take a wire, he put those wires to the bulb filaments and he connected it into a batteries, and in between he has just connected a switch. By switch oning, he has observed that the switch is on. While he is just offing the switch, the bulb has offed, so it doesn't glow. But if he use the paper in between the wire or the filament, so that interrupts the glowing of the bulb. So he concluded that the interference process, he interferes that moving paper clip interrupts the flow of electricity. So he has put the paper in between the wire. So yes, with the putting of a wire, he observed that the flow of electricity has interrupted. Arvind model verifies his prediction and interference. Okay, process skills. What he use a model, predict, interference. Interference he has done. If something is going in a flow, if we interrupt in between, what is the difference? So he observed that the electricity has been stopped in between, and thus the bulb has not glowed. How Shweta uses process. What process Shweta has used? What she has done? She wanted to what she wanted to do? She wanted to choose a good brand of towel which has the capacity of soaking water is much higher than the compared to other brands. So she has collected 3 types of towels of a variety of brands, and she has taken a beaker with equal amount of water, and she has put those towels into the beaker, and she has maintained a time, and she after just removing the towel from the beakers with a specific time, what she observed. So hypothesis. What is it? Make a statement about an expected outcome. Plan and conduct experiment. Identify and perform the steps necessary to test a hypothesis using appropriate tools. Recording and analyzing the data collected. So identify and control factors. That controlling factor means she has maintained here what? Timing and a equal amount of water affects the outcome of an experiment, so that only one variable is to be tested in an experiment. So what she has concluded that for doing an experiment, so only one variable has to be maintained. Before reading, you should have a how do scientists work? Before reading, what are the one should have a knowledge of what he has to conduct an experiment. So what are the things he has to observe from here to if he is observing about a biosphere. So what are the things he is, weather conditions or soil or the availability of vegetation, everything he is seeing here. So he and when he goes to the another place where there is no much water and no such vegetation and weather condition is so harsh, so the adaptation or the habitat of the animals is less, or there are of different animals living there according to their habitat, or they have adopted that habitat. Only that type of animals are there. So in that way he should first what, before reading he should observe, then during reading what should he has to do, what are the changes after reading, what he has concluded, what are the changes he has observed. So see here what he is, this is a cycle, food web in occurring ecosystem, and these are the plants which have adapted themselves to the harsh condition or a dry condition. Only these plants we can see in a where there is a no much water, where there is a scarcity of water. Writing and communicating is very important. So persuasive writing is very much important. Okay, persuasive writing means you should know how to measure. Measure means how to use the instruments such as thermometer. Thermometer we have a scale, how to measure it, what indicate which centimeters or meters or millimeters indicates what, how much amount of heat. Clocks, timers, rulers, spring balance, scales, beakers, all this we should have a good knowledge of measuring using numbers. Then after measuring we should understand, we should have a good knowledge of understanding numbers, how to take an average, how to interpret into the table, how to make a graph with it, like that. Interpreting the data with using these numbers, how we can interpret in the form of a bar diagram, pie diagram, or a arrow diagram, in such way using number sense. See, here are the different ways of representing a diagram in the form, not we are here, not we are using a numbers, but instead of we are using a pie diagram, and this includes these different types of colors includes this area covers about this percentage of area is covered by cows, and yellow area by buffaloes, and blue area by goat, donkey and camels. So what are the